Yes, everybody, Russ of the West Ham Network. Hope you're all safe and well, my friends. Happy Friday. We have done another Friday, done another week. Congratulations. And love is in the air. Everywhere I look around, and we're talking about our one true love, that being the mighty West Ham. Hope everyone is well. Hope everyone is having had a good week. If you are around the Rush Green area tonight, the under-21s play Blackburn Rovers under-21s with a 7 o'clock kickoff. And it's £5. So I'm just doing my Face ID. £5 for adults. And it is £1 for under 18s, I think. And it is free if you bring your season ticket with you. So if you've got if you are at a loose end for a date, where to take someone for a date, what better than both your passions together? The one you love with the club you love, and could be for free if you've both got season ticket holders. Just saying. Then obviously tomorrow, so you might go, sorry, love, I can't go out tonight. We got West Ham under 21s are playing. It's all right, we'll go out tomorrow. Brentford, our opponents at the London Stadium. And as the title suggests, the new film they're releasing is it's not Graham Potter, is it? Or not Harry Potter, it's Graham Potter. Graham Potter and the Headache and the Selection Headache. Potter has options for the first time in his West Ham career, in all honesty, across the board, really. Options in defence, to some extent, options in the goalkeepers, midfields, not so much the forward line, or maybe the forward line. I think, in all honesty, based on what he was saying in his press conference, I think Ferguson isn't going to start, isn't going to play the full 90 minutes. So he'll either start and be taken off, or he'll be brought on. Who knows? Jean-Claire, I think, will make the squad, but maybe might not start. But the likes of Paqueta and Alvarez seem to both be fit and raring to go, which is great to see. Absolutely great to see. So, the likes of Bowen, Paqueta, Alvarez, Kudus, Soler, the only slightly flying the element being Somerville not being cleared. He's re-aggravated a different part of his hamstring, which is a shame, isn't it, really? Because I think I'd love to have seen him get going in well, and maybe by the time we get to the international break, we could have, with the exception of Fulkrug and Antonio, by the time we get after the international break, we'll have everyone else fit, hopefully. Right, let's have a look what we got in the... Toby's here. Come on, you. Flipping irons. Good morning, Scott. Sorry, across the pond. Hope you're well. Stefan, I'm very well. Hope you are well too. I'm excited about tomorrow. Obviously, we'll have the... Let me just talk this out a little bit. We'll have the Matchday morning, and then we'll also have... the starting 11 show stuff. I'm excited. It's nice to be excited. I've just gone to get my hair cut, and talking to my barber Steve at Wiggy's. Shout out to Wiggy's at Hornchurch. He obviously gets lots of West Ham fans in his chair, and a lot of them were really excited about what's happening now. So that's great to see. And obviously, sad news yesterday about Ticker. Sadly passing away at the age of 82. We did a little tribute to him this morning, as well as Adam King, one of previous West Ham reserve. Both sadly passed away. I believe the club will be doing some sort of tributes to Ticker tomorrow's game. So if you are going to the game, make sure you get there nice and early. Steve, good afternoon to you. Hope you're well. Stuart's in the chat. 2-0 West Ham. Come on, you Irons, from Morden, Essex. And I believe it's some nice weather the next few days. Hornchurch is not. It's nice and sunny and no rain. There's this big yellow thing in the sky. I think it's called the sun. I haven't seen it for a few months. So that's nice. And it's dry as well. Hopefully, for those who went to the game last Friday, at Rush Green. Hopefully, it won't be as cold or as wet. It was awful. It was cold and wet. Two words. I don't mind when it's dry and cold, but cold and wet, not a fan. Damien's in the house. Hope you're well, Damien. Tony the Tiger, great to see. What? No, I only can do a quick one today, unfortunately. But I know it's good. It's good you're calm. It's good that you're calm. It's good to be calm. Acid Joke says Alvarez and Paqueta to play Ferguson, Todibo, JWP on a bench. Sounds good to me. That's what it sounds like. Yeah, I mean, I can't really see JWP making much inroads at the moment, although he has been, as Potter said, he's impressed him quite a lot. So I think that's what you're likely to see. I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe a Ferguson. I mean, I suppose he's either going to start or end the game, in my opinion. If he starts, then he's probably got 60 and a half, maybe 60 minutes, then take him off. I think it's more likely he'll end the game. But it's nice, isn't it? It's nice to have options. And we'll be doing our starting 11 show, and I'll put a couple of different options together. We're led to be believed that also, and we'll talk about Hammer's headlines, but it does seem that Potter's not a fan of our mate Mavropanos. So we may well see us trying to maybe put in a Sufau or a Wan-Bissaka in there if Todibo isn't available. But I mean, I think he's been. Looking at him, he looks in good fettle, and I think also he is very much been training quite a bit. I think, and actually, great to see. There's some clips of Antonio training, doing obviously sort of indoor training, so to speak. On two legs, balancing and stuff. So. Great to see. Great to see. There's a real change, isn't it, in the club? It's for me. There's a lot more optimism. There's a lot more people that seem to be a lot more bouncy, which is fantastic to see. I love it. It's for me. It's just nice. There's people looking forward to the games. I think for a fair time, I don't think we really enjoying the football, and even towards the end of David Moyes' era, I think there was a lot of people who didn't enjoy the football. We seem to be more optimistic now. He's had a win and a draw since he's joined in terms of his results so far. So look, we'll see what happens tomorrow. Brentford are a good side. Brentford are a very good side. We'll have the stat attack tomorrow. First thing. Clearly Brian Mbeumo is someone you want to be stopping. I mean, I think he's got 14 goals to his name. I think Damsgaard's one of the top assisters in the league as well. Weiser as well. All good players. There'll be no mugs. And obviously, until recently, they had an awful time away from home. But typically, coming into playing West Ham, they seem to be putting a few wins together, and maybe where their home form was so good, we were the only side they didn't get 3 points off, wasn't it? If I was right, for a long time, the beginning of the season, wasn't it? 1-1 was our first point of the season, wasn't it? I think there's definitely a different mentality over there, and Potter spoke very highly in the press conference about Brentford. In terms of tactically what they're doing, in terms of what Thomas Frank's doing, in terms of what he's doing well. So look, we'll wait and see. There's loads of comments. Let's go through some lovely comments. I'm going to have a nightmare. Yeah, Elizabeth Line isn't running to Stratford, isn't it? From our side, from Shenfield to Stratford, it's bus replacement, or you go to and get rail replacement, or you get to Old Church and get on the district line and then go back at Mile End, or you get to someone like Redbridge and get the what's the name line? Get the old Central line. So yeah, it's going to be a bit of a trek, I think, for a lot of people this week, this weekend. It always happens, doesn't it, when it comes to West Ham? Always happens, without a shadow of doubt. It's so frustrating, isn't it? You think they could have done all this stuff last week, for example, when we had no West Ham game on. We haven't had a West Ham game for 12 games, and now we do 12 days. Actually, ridiculous. John, hope you're well. Indeed, it's great to have a good selection. It's great to have options. I've been saying, for too long he's had square pegs for round holes. Now he's got too many round pegs to put in the square holes. So look, it's great, and I don't think, and I think it's going to be fascinating to see what happens as well in terms of how does Potter manage it? How does he? We've had situations before where we had one manager who wasn't able to manage a squad. We had Mum head coach who was more of a loved the idea of a squad, but never really sort of managed the first 11. And now we've got hopefully someone in between. So, and also you've got the likes of Caelan Casey and Orford and Ollie playing understudy. Luke, good afternoon to you. Hope you are well. If Potter can get to Steve on board, I think he would have worked miracles. I think Todibo seems to be more, someone who's very, very keen to be back, and maybe, as we believe, someone like Aguerd is also keen to maybe come back after his loan spell. So, and actually, I was talking to someone who had, I was talking to someone who was talking to someone on holiday who was the parents of Dan Burn, big Dan Burn, and he was saying, and they were talking to him about Potter because obviously being a West Ham fan, and they just said he was different class in terms of a manager. Dan really loved him as a manager and a really good people person and stuff, and you just get that feeling with him. Mav isn't good enough, I'm afraid. Shame. Seems a good lad. Surely if you're mocking up, you could have remembered the scar, even if it was yes. Okay, all right. Jesus. I wish he's given him a chance. I've seen a lot of players pick up harsh labels at this club. I think he has raw material to work with for sure, says Damien. Is Kudus in a poor spell? Is he unhappy? I think he's in a poor vein of form, I think. Whether he's unhappy, I don't know. I think his best position is playing now. But I think teams know how to sort of line up against him now. You put 2-3 men on him. And that's what they do now. That is what they do, unfortunately. And he's got to find a way, a new way, adapting how he plays to make the maximum impact. I don't think he's found it just yet. Obviously, he is an incredibly raw player. I think there's a lot of talent there, but it's not taught. It's natural to him. And I think someone like Potter, arm around him, same as Paqueta. I mean, look at the transformation for Paqueta, really. The last sort of half dozen games has been night and day, really, from what we've seen in the previous few games in the season. So I think he'll do the same with Kudus. He'll come good. And actually having a target man, having a striker, he can work off. And that's what Potter particularly is all about. Having a target man, having a figurehead to hold up play, to bring players in, to do flick-ons, balls over the top for the likes of Kudus. Naturally, someone like Ferguson, has presence, will draw naturally defenders towards him. So there will be space. We haven't had that. Kudus hasn't had that for the last 4 or 5 games, really, since Fulkrug went out injured. And so there's not the option. So he's had to sort of all the attention of the defence. And so I think we'll see something good. Steve's got to come from Slough. Okay, so yes, you can get the. I think is the Elizabeth line running at all? So otherwise, you have to get the overground to Ealing Broadway and the central line. I don't know. I think Peter, young man, will just ladies. He might do actually. He might do. It's a really good point, Peter. Actually, well made. He might do. He was due to play. Well, they were hopeful of him getting some minutes last week for the Arsenal game, but his registration hadn't taken time, and then it was Sunday. So he might at least be on the bench, and I think that's much needed because someone like Josh Ajala, bless him, did double duty last week and he looked knackered after 60 minutes. The 18s are playing as well this weekend. So if Josh doesn't get some minutes tonight, then he'll probably get some minutes tomorrow, 11 a.m. Little Green, I believe it is. Start walking now, Peter. We need to convert a good play to a win tomorrow. There's a free hit against Arsenal. Well, Arsenal have only three strikers or 3 forwards, haven't they? So Yeah, I think next week is a bit of a free hit realistically, but they're there for the taking for sure. For sure. But he could build momentum. Brentford are no mugs. We've got tricky ties. The link for that on website won't go away. We talk about that Hammers headlines. It won't indeed. Must-win game. It's Everton overtook us 3-1 win, says Steve. Never a free hit against Arsenal. Once we create a pitch-wide threat, the individuals have expressed themselves more often. Indeed. And if you see what he's trying to do with the wing backs, pretty much they're having to have the old. They call it the paint on their heels, isn't it? So that's how sort of on the touchlines they work, and he's trying to spread them out. Obviously, then that gives more space for the likes of Kudus and stuff to run into. Hope for a point. Saka is a big miss, and others stupid, and other injuries. Sorry, Peter said, "What do you think of the club? The stupid overvaluation of around $2 billion?" As we said, I think Holly did a really good show about that on Wednesday, and made some really good points. I think valuation is only what people will pay. And I think the issue with Chelsea was, and doing the multiplier and Man United, these guys are head and shoulders above us in terms of commercial, and that's where the money is. They've got Man United is one of the most commercial brands in football. Everyone knows it, and they might on the pitch, but from a financial perspective, they have fans all over the world. They have, TV deals, sponsorship deals with some of the biggest, players biggest brands in the world. Same with Chelsea. They've got a big selection of fans over in Asia as well, and we're nowhere near that. We are massive everywhere we go, but we're nowhere near that. So to apply that multiplier to West Ham, I think was incorrect. And indeed, I mean, Lady Brady has said something like £700 to £800 million was what the club was worth, and I think that's probably right based on what Krasinski paid and the shares. I mean, the share options that's the Sullivan family have got. If they wanted to buy the likes of Gold shares or Krasinski or vice versa, they had a set fee. So I think you're looking at maybe around 850 being more of a realistic one. But obviously, it's not exciting as saying 2.2 billion in terms of getting in. But once you get into the brass tacks, I think it's more like 800. To be fair, with a fully fit team, can't wait to see the team. How do you can't wait to see the team play how you expect it to? Indeed, and it's really interesting to see how it all works when he's got all the pieces of the puzzle in front of him, all the ingredients of the West Ham pie. Who do you think the next sponsor will be on the front of the shirt? I think, well, by the sounds of it, Amazon seems very a real strong contender, potentially with naming rights to the stadium as well, the Amazon Arena or the Amazon Stadium, or at least they'll deliver. That's for sure. Boom, boom. I think. I mean, that's the only sort of name we've been given in terms of any real conversations, but they'll have conversations all the time. We did a thing a couple of months ago, sort of predicting, a windfall, so to speak, in the 26-27 season. In that there was a difference in the sponsorships changing and the shirt sponsorships and things like that, and we know that Tripp's been looking. And has been promoting West Ham overseas in terms of North America and Canada. Obviously, they've got the World Cup in 2026 as well. So that, the interest in football over there or soccer has increased a lot. And we would have had, I think it's something like 13 out of the 20 clubs or something ridiculous, or 10 out of 20 clubs have got some sort of American ownership. So it does seem to be the way of the world. Can't think of his name. And who the club have been linked to from Barcelona? Can't think of his name. Ends to be of the. I have no idea what you're talking about, Jay. To be honest, we've been linked to a lot. Banzumi, is that who you talk about? I don't know. There's lots of players we've been linked to, and we continue to be linked to them. To be honest, as we have a massive job in our hands coming up. No update I'm aware of at the moment. Do you see Aguerd coming back? I think I could see him coming back. I think he'd come back from pre-season and then Potter will assess. Because I think under a Potter type regime, I've got a hell of a defender there. And the fact is, you had a hell of a defender at the World Cup. You had a hell of a defender playing for League A, and you had a hell of a defender playing for La Liga. The only blip, I think, in his resume has been his time at West Ham, where he's had two defensive-focused manager / head coaches looking at him and working with him. Whereas Potter, it's more on the offensive. It's more about having the ball. All of his defenders should be comfortable with the ball. His goalkeepers should be comfortable with the ball. Someone like Aguerd would be perfect. And, a three of Aguerd, Kilman and Todibo sounds pretty good for me next season, but we'll see. Who's he talking about? Acid joke. Oh, I can't find... Oh, Kudus. You talking about Kudus? I don't know. A good finish to the season needed. Yep. And teams will be dropping points. Anything is possible. As long as you keep winning, you beat the teams around you and beating, anything's possible. And particularly whoever wins the cup competitions and leagues and in any sort of European competitions, again, anything can happen. What's happened to the whole Red Bull deal with us? Well, Red Bull are currently the energy drink suppliers of West Ham. So, on last Friday, it was quite funny. It was like Red Bull versus Prime, because obviously Arsenal have a deal with Prime. So, and that's it at the moment. That's it. Who knows? Who knows? The value of the club is reflected on the increased dividends paid by the Premier League rather than any boardroom management. It is indeed. However, it's also mentioned that this multiplier is based on the current market value and money that's been put into the club or income rather than spend. So, at the end of the day, yes, we are probably worth more than we were before, but not to the £2 billion mark. As I said, it's looking at the numbers. I think Adam from Dad's Our Podcast sort of did something, and he said about 850, and Kieran Maguire agreed. And that's the only voice of reason I look at, because I think he's well respected in terms of Kieran Maguire and in terms of what he does. So a funny thing in the news, the Birmingham owners looking to build a 60,000. Well, they're American, aren't they, as well? So is that Tom Brady? So, yeah. Why has the stadium still not got naming rights? It's disgusting that they haven't bothered, and we get blamed for them losing money. Well, ladders. I don't think it's not for the want of trying, in all honesty. But I have a feeling that they were probably asking for too much money, because don't forget, after I think the first £4 million, they then get, is it 60-40? So, to make any decent money, they would need to get a lot for it to obviously get at least £4 million for them, for the LODC, plus then 60% of anything else. Now, there was a option. I think West Ham were presented with an option to us to go out and get it on some different dividend thing, and we rejected that. And that being said, as I said, part of it was discussed as part of the Amazon deal, I believe, as shirt sponsors and also of naming rights. But yeah, and I mean, the thing is, us getting blamed, we've not, we signed an agreement. If anyone you want to blame Tottenham and Orient, because don't forget, it was our stadium until they kicked off, and then we became tenants rather than owners of it. So, and I think Tottenham's doing a lot of money on their stadium as well. This ratty link I keep seeing, please, no, not my type of midfield at all. Yep, I agree. And I know you don't like his phrase, Damien, but even under the Brighton model, who's been their most prolific goal scorer in the last couple of years? Danny Welbeck. Now, if you said we were signing Danny Welbeck, people would have gone, like before, obviously, his purple patch, they're going to fuck off, Lallana, Milner, so I don't think it's happening. I just think, I think he's more likely to go to a Fulham, in all honesty, but there we go. Heard Potter wants rid of Mav. We'll talk about the Hammers headlines. We've been linked with Jack Greenish today. Well, again, someone like, you can imagine Potter with a Grealish, his arm around a Grealish. Who knows? I think it's going to be all dependent about who leaves this summer in terms of who we bring in. There's areas we need to develop. We know. Centre half. We believe that the goalkeeper is an area which he wants to look at as well. Maybe talk about that. Maybe over the weekend, players have been linked to him in terms of goalkeepers. The forward situation he's looking at. Midfield situation. I mean, literally every department of West Ham needs looking at. As I said, I did a thing. I think it was Monday or Tuesday. Literally looking at the squad, looking at the players who could leave. It could be double figures, in all honesty, in terms of comings and goings. Now, granted, we bring players in. We've got the pathway players, as I call them, in terms of Skulls, Orford, and Casey. We've also got the likes of George Earthy coming back. We've got the likes of Freddie Potts coming back. Then we've got the likes of Callum Marshall coming back. We've got Aguerd coming back. There's people to take those spots. But, if we let Fabianski, Cresswell, Antonio, Ings and Soufal go, they're all out of contract. Naturally, our squad will get younger because we do have the oldest player in the Premier League in goal. Or not tomorrow, but has been in goal this season. But that's a lot of experience. 800, 900 games, something like between all of them. Cress is on 300. Actually, probably not so. More at 600 or 700. Cress is on 300. Fabianski must be on a couple of hundred. Soufal's got to be on 100. Antonio's probably on almost 200. So yeah, probably 2, 3, probably about 700 games between all of them. There's a lot. There's a lot there of experience we'll lose. So it's how they. So that's why I could see someone like a Verratti, or even not Verratti, maybe Adam Webster, someone with a bit of Premier League experience, really coming in to sort of steady the ship. The way some of the players have performed this season, I think they've downed several cans of Red Bull before they take the pitch. Well, no, they'd be buzzing. Surely they'd be more aggressive. When will we drop the stupid London bit? 2 cross hammers? No idea, Peter. I think it'd be crazy not to at least see what a back three would be like when available. Yeah, I think they'll try that. I mean, it'll be obviously Kilman on the left, Todibo on the right, on the middle, and Mav on the right. I just think that Potter's seen enough of him and doesn't want to see. I always say we only see a microcosm of football. We see a 90 minutes of Mavropanos. We don't see what he's like in training, and if he doesn't perform well in training, the point is not going to put him on the pitch. It'd be interesting to see which youngsters possibly keep around. There are a number that go out on loan, but a few might be worth the crack. Yeah, I think there will be. I think for me, there's probably, as I think George Earthy comes, he comes to mind straight away. I think obviously Freddie. And I think the thing about, they're putting a lot of. He did a whole video. Did you see it yesterday? I messaged him. I thought, it's like, look at you. But literally, he's like a whole video of him talking about, he wants to be West Ham. They really are putting a lot of weight behind him. So that, to me, they wouldn't necessarily have done that unless there's a plan for him. And I think there will be. Someone like Guilherme Rodriguez goes back to La Liga. It looks like Betis is a couple of million quid. Then Potts comes straight in. Sorry, I'm just sending an email. Sorry. Sorry, I've got to... Wait. Sorry. Working on a big deal at the moment. But yeah, I think it's interesting to see. They're putting a lot of time behind Potts. So I think they see a lot in him. I feel people writing Mav off ways. To be honest, Damien, I think I've seen enough of him. He's an okay centre half, prone to mistakes, same as everyone. And you're probably right. We probably are, typical Mav again. Whereas Kilman could have done it, and we go, unlucky. You're probably right. But the trouble is, every game is crucial. Every mistake, and if he's doing too many mistakes, regardless of, if it's over a period of time or over a condensed period of time, he's going to get a name for himself, isn't he? Same as Ludo. I loved Ludo McCloskey, but my granddad used to call him Loopy Ludo. And, I was looking at some old footage the other day, and a lot of the goals he let in were pretty much Ludo. You're like, fucking hell. So I've seen it. I've seen a lot of similar ones as well. So, yes. Who else? Are we going to see Antonio play for the club again? Well, it doesn't seem like it being a career injury. I said he was training. He's already on doing the rehab in Dubai, and he's doing 12 days rehab out there. And you see pictures of him already, balancing on one leg with weights and stuff. And footballers now are just mental, aren't they? I mean, Bowen recovered from his fractured foot, reasonably quickly, and then you've got someone like Somerville who's been out for even longer with the hamstring. It's horses for courses now. Antonio has spent a lot of time. His injuries weren't as frequent in the last sort of 18 months since he changed his diet. That was one thing he was looking at. So it depends whether the club, I think, offer him a new deal. Now we did it with Ogbonna. Ogbonna was out of a long-term injury, and his contract was due to expire. And West Ham offered him a 1-year extension. I wouldn't be surprised if they did that again with Antonio, because I think we don't owe it to him, but it's good form, and I think it looks good PR-wise as well for new players coming in and things like that. Seeing how well Cress has done under Potter shows just how good Potter is. Well, I mean, again, but the thing was, Cress's best times, I think, in West Ham in the last 5 years have been playing under David Moyes on the on the left-hand side of a back three. So Potter goes back to a back three and puts Cress there. It ain't that bad. He ain't that bad, and he does a job there. So I'm. I mean, look at Paqueta. Indeed, I mean, he's impressed no end. I think Pac will leave the right club, make an offer, maybe a Brazilian side. I think in all likelihood he'll go to a Brazilian side. I don't think he'll do a Man City. Also, we've got a situation now where we still have the what's it called, the court case in the summer. I think he's probably more, if he's found guilty or if he's not found guilty, I think he'll end up going back to Brazil. Flamengo, a side they've been talking to apparently, or his agent has. I think that's more of a chance. Why would he come back to Premier League? He hasn't set the world light, not harsh, just being honest. I mean, you're right. He hasn't. I mean, he's the last couple of games he's been injured, been out, and back in the side. He's been sort of in and out. He got half an hour last week. But he's the type of player you build a side around. There's no doubt. We could. If Paqueta and someone like Kudus went in the summer, if both, we're a bit bereft of attacking options. And I think George comes in. We know what he can offer. And he will be added to that pathway list. I'm not saying he comes straight in and goes straight into the starting lineup, but becomes an option in the same way that Lewis Orford becomes an option. For me, I'd send out Lewis on loan next year. We brought Freddie back, send Lewis out. I think that's, or even maybe, I don't know, we'll see. See what their thoughts are. Maybe even, I don't know. I don't think it's made much point sending Ollie out on loan because he's pretty much going to take over from Emerson, I think. Antonio's 35, so it would be best for him if he left. Maybe Peter. The Aguerd, Kilman and Tadiba back three is a scary proposition, as two of them have a history of making motivation. Right? Well, it depends about how they're motivated. There's no denying Aguerd's either side of his West Ham career has been unflappable, really, in Liga and La Liga. He's one of the best defenders. He's the only player this season to have been involved. He's the one player who's been involved in the most clean sheets in La Liga this season. There we go. Wow. So there's loads of comments. I'm just trying to go through some more. I can't believe Freddie Potts now 35 by the time. I know. Someone said, I think it's Alex, said he was still waiting for him to come back and make a final hurrah. It's a good point, isn't it? The players may recover quickly from their injuries, but they just seem to get more injuries than most clubs. I don't think so, lads. I think we see each other in a bubble. Pardon the pun. If you look at, Arsenal, how many injuries they had, Bournemouth had a lot of injuries, Spurs have had a lot of injuries. I don't think it's just us. We went for a long period of time without anyone being injured this season. And then in the space of a week, we lost two strikers and one was to a car accident. So that isn't really an accident you can legislate for. So I don't think it is. I just think sometimes it's like transfers. Oh, we don't sign anyone. I was listening to Talksport today, and Leicester City, and they've only signed they signed a right back from Parma or something. That was all they signed, and they were like in relegation. I don't think it's just us. And actually, we went through a period where we didn't have a lot of injuries at all, really. So there, and actually, in terms of Rush Green, there's a lot of development going on there as well. All the portal cabins have got to go, haven't they? So we're having a lot of development work there at the moment. Lots of permanent structures, a new gym, I think, as well. So there's been a lot of money that's going towards it in terms of improving the facilities at Rush Green, but I don't think it's training or fitness. I think it's just being unfortunate as well. I'd keep Earthy on loan. He's not ready. Well, let's see what happens, innit? I mean, the club will make a decision. I mean, look at Freddie Potts. He spent 2 years out, 2 seasons on loan, Wickham, and then Portsmouth. Maybe George went on as a year too early. You see the likes of Callum Marshall. He's done 2 years now, on loan. I think if the manager's not going to use him to the extent of maybe a Ollie or even a Lewis, to be honest, then I think it's wise to send him out on loaning and get him ready. Will we ever see Fulcrew play for West Ham again? Would anyone be bothered if not? I would like to see him play. I think I think it's March, April time. He could be back end of March. So I don't see it being too much. I wouldn't mind because again, I think he's, to be honest, in terms of all our forward options at the moment, he's probably one of the best options we've got. In terms of the Potter style of football. And I keep saying, who's a player that we always used to fear when Brighton used to come to West Ham? Glenn Murray. Would Glenn Murray sprint past people and do it? No, he wouldn't. Is it true Barcelona are looking at Aguerd? Well, apparently Aguerd is getting a lot of interest from lots of people. I think Barcelona, I think Real Madrid are also looking at him as well. So, look, he's our player, and I think Real Sociedad, they shot themselves a foot, really, with the whole... And I don't know how the loan deal went about, but they didn't include an option to buy. I think they assumed the Aguerd was going to come in and do a job, in the squad, but actually he came in and did a fantastic job for them. Came in and made a situation where he's been one of the best defenders in the Liga. And with that, people have gone, yeah, fair play to him. And people have taken notice, which for me shows that sometimes, and again, the frustration of not having a break clause in it as well. I always said during the criticism of Aguerd, I mean, you can go back and watch. I've always been very complimentary about Aguerd. There's a good player there. We've seen some good movement. We've seen some good distribution of passing, but he just didn't suit the way we were defending as a side. And I think he would be a new signing, really, if he comes back in the summer, because of what he can do. He's left-footed. He can ping really good crossfield balls, and that's very much Potter's MO. You look at how many crossfield balls we do during a game just to spread the play. That's all he's doing. That's all we do. See, one side, rather than the whole annoying back, across, we'll do some of that, but we'll do quite a lot of back, across, crossfield ball, crossfield ball. And there's a player there. There's no denying it. I mean, you don't get to the semi-finals of a World Cup as well. I take all that we currently have. Yeah, I just think we could. In all honesty, I agree with what you say, Damien, in terms of Mav given a chance, but I could. I wouldn't. As I said, we talk about it in Hammer's headlines, but it looks like it's Mav out with Adam Webster in, and I personally aren't against that. I think we need a Craig Dawson-esque defender. He's not glamorous, it's not exciting, but I think we need it. And I think the day he left, our defence turned to shit. and it really did. We started conceding a lot more goals. Not like obviously because we were still getting the wins, but we were winning 3-2. We were winning 3-1, and I think Adam Webster comes in as fourth choice. Knows Potter can slip in, so to speak, as and when required. He's got a lot of minutes under his belt. He's 30, so he's got a good 3 or 4 years left. He's not going to cause a trouble. He's not going to, he's a model professional, and I think he would come in and sort of be that British presence I think you still need. Him and Kilman together, a strong little British spine. I think it'll be good. Do you think Potter and his right man can find him a tome of peanuts to improve us? Well, there has always been a desire to get a player, an Asian player in the squad for that exact reason. We know the effects of Heung-min Son. We know the effects of Mitoma. We know the Hwang from Wolves. That's not saying, but it's getting the right. It's not getting a player for player's sake. It's about getting the right player. So if a player did come up who was available and was Asian, I wouldn't be surprised for us to, because that's an area. And again, goes back to what we were saying at the beginning about the Chelsea valuation, the Man United valuation. They have a huge Asian following with a lot of money going over there, and so commercially, that's where the money's at. And so, not just from a TV perspective, from a shirt perspective, from a brand's perspective, a commercial perspective. Same as Arsenal and stuff, and we haven't got that. Spurs have got that to some extent, obviously, with the Korean fans, with Heung-min Son. But they've got to be the right player. There's no point buying mistakes. I think sometimes we've looked at players and we haven't got, and they've almost like, oh, well, we'll get him in, but he's not. Eventually, they don't get him in. That makes sense. Webston's decent ball playing and quite athletic. He is decent size as well. Knows the game, knows the Premier League, knows Potter. To me, that is all ticks. If Mav goes, I hope he gets a good move. I think is a good. I think Mav, in all honesty, would probably go back to the Bundesliga. I think, to be honest, maybe the style of football there suits him better. Obviously, originally he was at Arsenal, wasn't he? I think we made a big mistake by not sending Guilherme out, or at least giving him time in the under-21s. Yeah, he's been a strange one, Guilherme, hasn't it? Because he's played a few times off the bench and impressed for me in terms of the first team. He's only really played once, I think, for the under-21s. And I've seen a lot of under-21 football this year, and a lot of the other clubs. I think Sunderland, 2 games ago, they had Ahmed Abahamadi or someone like that. His name was, who was someone they brought for. No, it wasn't him. Big lad up front. They brought him from Ghent in the first team, and he was like almost a bit like the old reserve teams. It was his first game, and there's a lot of interest about him, and a lot of Sunderland fans are watching the live stream for that exact reason. Absolutely crappy, burnt out after half an hour. But I think there's definitely an interesting, not necessarily out on loan, but surely utilised with the under-21s. As I said, for me, it was this season's a bedding in season for him, and that might be why he hasn't been in the under-21 system. He's staying in the first team system because that's eventually where they want him to be. And obviously next year, the likelihood is Kudus will move on. So you've got someone who could sort of come in and hit the ground running, so to speak. He's won't need a settling in period. He knows the club. He's not homesick. He's not this. He's not that. And it's how big clubs operate. They buy the next ones to take over from the conveyor belt. And so let's see what happens. Hoping we'll play Pack as a number 9. Well, what's his name was being very complimentary about him, Potter, saying that's an option, and he might end up playing as a 9 starting tomorrow, with Ferguson coming on and changing it later on potentially. Obviously, a man of match performance against Aston Villa despite losing the game. And yeah, it's just the revitalization of Paqueta under Potter is pretty mental. No thanks, more tourists in the ground. Look at Spurs. unfortunately, Darren, I think that's from a fan's perspective. It's football's a business, innit? It's a football business, unfortunately, and so you need to bring in revenue to then be able to have the ability to spend. And there will be a finite amount of money that it can be made with the existing fan base. So they have to look for more commercial deals. They have to look for ways of promoting the side, ways of, particularly if we're not getting into Europe or anything, how we make that money up in terms of allowing us to spend more for PSR and stuff. And that would involve marketing us outside of our bubble. So if we didn't, then for many they'll be happy with that because it means the emergence of more kids within the squads and stuff. But in terms of the money, it doesn't happen that way now, unfortunately, does it? Portsmouth absolutely love Potts. They're saying they would love to extend it. Is he ready to replace him? I think he is, mate. He's ready. And I think with Guilherme going out, he comes straight in and competes for that spot. Guilherme's not ready for Kudus. All I'm hearing is downgrades. Well, Guilherme has been bought, as we said, always, and we're fans, but an actual expert, Tim Vickery, said he's not, when we spoke to him, exclusive of the West Ham Network, he said Guilherme is not a player for now. He's a player for the future. And so we've seen when he's come on, and again, Damien, you've only seen 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there, maybe that game in the under-21s where he scored a bloody good goal. He's already impressed when he's come on. We haven't seen enough of him on the pitch to make that assessment. We don't watch training and stuff like that. And there's probably a reason why he's not been involved. Because, I'm not being funny, last week, Casey and Lewis Orford were involved in 21s last week. And they're technically in the first, well, Casey particularly is technically in the first team squad. But Louis Guilherme has never been put into that under 21s. So obviously there's enough there, and even under Potter, there's enough there for him to stay there because he's on the under 21 list. The club put their 25 man list out and the under 21 list. He's on the under 21 list. So I'm holding judgment on Luis Guilherme till I see enough of him. I haven't seen enough of him. But every time I have seen him, I've been reasonably impressed with him when he comes on. But he's not going to get in the side ahead of Kudus. Not at the moment. I think players coming through would have a better chance. I totally agree, mate. Totally agree. In fact, I took a screenshot. Have I got it anywhere? I took a screenshot. It was someone, I think it was Darren Blewett, or it might have been Izzy Ickpen or someone like that. It was Izzy. Was it Izzy Ickpen? Yes, right. Now you can't, I'm going to read this out. This was Chelsea. Look at that. Okay, we'll show you that. That was Chelsea versus West Ham Reserve League. Chelsea in goal. Ed, you had Ferreira, Bogart, John Terry, Jody Morris, Colton Cole, Zola, Budovan Zenden. You had Philippe Olivier. You had Lenny on the bench, goalkeeper. West Ham had Ford, Minto, Izzy, Steve Potts, Laurent Courtois, Sean Byrne, Glenn Johnson, Anton Ferdinand, Elliot Ward. That was reserve team. Someone like Izzy Ickpen, who was he was just a youth team player there. What experience he would have got playing against, being up front against, defending against Carlton Cole and Zenden and Zola. You're so right, Peter, and I've said this on Blue in the Face. That's a reason why we don't develop, not just West Ham, but there's a reason why we don't develop lots of English-born players into the Premier League, because I could spend, who should we do? Kalen Casey. Kalen, no, let's go with Callum. Let's go with Callum Marshall. Now, Callum Marshall's been on 2 loan spells. Actually been banging him in. He was top goal scorer in the PL2 last year. And then we sent him out on loan twice. West Brom last year, Huddersfield this year, doing okay. I could go and get the lad we were linked with, the one who went to Bournemouth. He's 18. The next Mbappe is called in. You could go and get him. And he's had like 100 league appearances under his belt already, and that to me is where football goes. I think we had Tim Breaker saying the same thing a long time ago. that is the reason why he hasn't been involved. Well, I just think he hasn't got ahead of Kudus, but he's been subbed for Kudus. I thought we were brilliant against Aston Villa. And both occasions at a different team, amazing link up play. Indeed, why does the West Ham homepage not cover? Hey, don't cover the 16s really. I think 18s is the area they start, because then they should really cover the 14s and the 12s. I mean, you're going to see a lot of the 16s are in the 18s anyway now, because a lot of the 18s have got into 21s and so on and so forth. But yeah, good point. It was, and it was the wrong move. And I think at that time, Callum had 20 options on the table, including Leighton Orient. I think it would have been a better option for him, because he wouldn't have to have moved either. But yeah, he picked the one in the highest league position, which again, for me, you want to get guaranteed minutes. You want to basically be in a situation where I think you're probably a mid-table side, because otherwise you get to a point where it's too much of a risk for them to play him. It's the same. That's why I think part of the reason why you're seeing a lot of the academy boys playing now, not just because of Potter's desire to play academy players, but the fact is pretty much the season's over, in all honesty. So you've got a bit more leeway to bring in and play the kids. We used to develop players in our championship when we were Euro Cup. We were indeed. We did, lots of Elliot Ward and Anton Ferdinand and buying in younger players like Nigel Reo-Coker and people like that. Will the players be wearing armband? I don't know if they're wearing armband. I'd assume so, but I don't know for sure. But I think we'll be doing some montages of his goals and stuff. Martin's already sent all the stuff over. I know that. I would get in Joe Bellingham. Yeah, player we've been linked with. Sunderland, isn't it? Russ, is there any truth for signing Antonio Cordo? He's someone we've been looking at. We might talk about tomorrow. So, yeah. With all these loan moves, we need to assess the team, the squad, and look where the gaps are, see where we are, will be most needed. Yeah, I totally agree. And that's what they're doing now, Damien. That's why, the likes of Cole and the analysts and Graham, they're going to be assessing in the next 3 or 4 months, over the next 3 or 4 months, what needs to be done, what needs to be culled, what needs to be brought in. And as I said, I think every department needs some addressments. I think the goalkeeper, there's some questions whether he sees Areola as his goalkeeper going forward, his full time, his future goalkeeper. Linked to a number of goalkeepers there, and so on and so forth. I am certainly on the 1s and 2s tonight, 7 p.m. Rush Green kickoff. West Ham under 21s play Blackburn under 21s. Even with Earthy, see the fans saying they're in the cusp of signing another before getting Earthy. Exactly. And I think, we see, and there's a balancing act, isn't there, really? And I think, yes, you're going to have a number of the academy players going in to the side, but you're right. I think, as much as we like to see academy players, in the same time, we're excited to see exciting players being brought in at the same time. So it's very much a balancing act, really, isn't it? See, Man United are looking to lay off. They are indeed. For a long time, we have been dreading for a West Ham shirt. What? I don't understand, Carl. Sorry, mate. Right, I'm gonna have to shoot in a minute, but guys. But look, thanks very much for your time. As I said, I'll be on the 1s and 2s tomorrow, so I will be doing a lovely review show after the game tonight, so keep an eye on that. And then I'll be doing Matchday morning tomorrow. We have the stat attack as well, of all your latest stats for the Brentford game, starting 11 shows, stuff like that. All good. It is okay. It's sweet. It shows they're putting a lot of emphasis behind him. I'm glad the club look like they're looking to. Yeah, exactly. Me too. Do what supports Potter says, and like and subscribe. If you're new around here, it really does help us out. Little like, even a little comment after. If you're watching this on the replay, or even afterwards, just refresh after we've finished. Put something like I don't know. Put something like a little cross-stammers emoji or whatever. Helps for the engagement. And if you are subscribed, please do. We've got some really good stuff coming up. We've got next week, I think we've got the Ludic McCloskey Appreciation Night with Marty Godliman. I've got some cracking player interviews lined up in the next few weeks. One I'm very interested to see how it's going to work. I don't know if it's going to, but fuck it, we'll give it a go. Okay, deleted. There we go. And he used a bit. Do you know what? I was the other day, Peter. I saw the Beast of Hornchurch, go past my door here. The Beast of Hornchurch. Did I tell you I saw him or it being walked by its owner? Who walks a cat? But it was a massive cat on a leash. Just saying. Beast of Hornchurch. It is a, what they call it? It's a certain type of cat, I think. Is it a coon cat or something like that in terms of a massive cat? That's what it was. Not Kudus. They're not current players. That might be one of the players I'm talking about, Darren. So wait and see. I think they have up top will benefit when he plays midfielder, give him new lease of life. I agree, John. And also, they now, when Ferguson is fully fit and playing, we'll have a target man. We'll have someone we can put the ball up to regularly, hopefully, as long as they don't get injured, as is the way when it comes to West Ham. But anyway, take care, everyone. Stay safe, stay warm, stay humble, keep the faith, stay dry. It looks like we're going to be dry in Hornchurch the next few days, hopefully. Might even be able to put my 8-foot inflatable teddy bear away. That's been out there since Christmas. So I had to move it from outside the front door to here because I've got to let it dry. And then I had to wash it down. And now it's covered in bird poo, so I'm going to have to jet wash it. But I haven't had literally 2 or 3 days in a row for it to dry. So hopefully I can get that done maybe on Sunday. Maybe on Sunday if it doesn't rain. I haven't, unfortunately, and I would love to one day, Skip, and I will do eventually one day. Anyway, take care, my friends. Much love for Short and Focus. Much love. Bye-bye.